This is 30 and 30, where I'm going to be going over every MLB team in 30 seconds each, giving you the recap of them from the previous week. 30 seconds pops up on the clock. We go alphabetically through every MLB team. Enjoy the video. All right, without further ado, I think that's enough intro. Let's get into 30 MLB teams in 30 seconds. The timer starts right now with the Arizona Diamondbacks, who come in to this week 46 and 50. This is a team that really just has not done anything. They've been mid, 3 and 7 in their last 10. Trade Eugenio Suarez, maybe trade Zach Gallen. Their bullpen just keeps getting hit by injuries. Shelby Miller is out now. That's a bit rough for them. Let's go ahead and let's move on. The Atlanta Braves, not much better. Actually, they're not better in any way at all. 42 and 52. Hosting the All-Star game. What has happened to this team? I don't even understand. 4th place in the NL East, just like the Diamondbacks are in 4th place. They're 11 and a half out of the division. 4 and 6 in their last 10. Matt Olson having a really nice year. He takes Ronald Acuna's place so that Acuna doesn't get hurt. I think they should trade Marcell Ozuna, even though his value is at an all-time low. Maybe consider moving Strider. That's kind of the big swing that I would think they maybe could look into. Let's move on. The Orioles have been playing a lot better baseball recently. 43 and 52 still. 6 and 4 in their last 10, but really sneaky since June 1st. They've been just a fine baseball team. Starting to get some performances on the mound. Dean Kremer has shown up for this team a few starts in a row. How about that? Finally starting to see Gunnar go a little bit. O'Hearn has got to go at the deadline. So does Cedric Mullins. Felix Bautista as well. This is a team that just cannot buy. They're too far out, even though the AL is wide open. Let's move on. The Red Sox, you want to talk about hot. How about at least 10 in a row? They're 10 and 0 in their last 10. This is a team that is playing silly out of their minds right now. Garrett Crochet by WAR has already been worth about $35 million. He's on a ridiculous tear right now. Ceddanne Rafaela, that guy has gone nut job. Alex Bregman finally is going to be back playing for this team. There's an article that came out about his impact on that team. We'll get into that in just a little bit. But my goodness, the Red Sox are playing phenomenal ball without Rafael Devers. Let's move on. The Chicago Cubs, they just played the Yankees this weekend. They won today, actually. 57 and 39. That is actually tied for the best record in the National League right now. Right about at the top of Major League Baseball. How about second in Major League Baseball? The Brewers are right behind them red hot, so they only have a 1-game lead in the National League Central. 6 and 4 in their last 10. It's an offense that's formidable to really anybody. The pitching staff probably could use some guys to plug up some holes. They need someone who can throw hard and throw innings for them. Let's move on. The Chicago White Sox, they're pretty bad. 32 and 65. They've got the 10th pick in the MLB draft, which has not happened yet. The Marlins pick is in. But that's besides the fact. Not really many people playing very well for this team. I think it's about time we move on from Luis Robert, even though he has been absolutely atrocious this year. Fun fact, this team actually hasn't been miserable at home. 21 and 29. I mean, they're just really bad in general, so that's not saying much. The Cincinnati Reds. This is a team that I, in a recent video, said for a contender. I think some people got mad about that. They're 50 and 47. The NL is not very wide open, so they are probably a team that just needs to stay put unless they really believe in this year. But they've got 4 starters who are kind of locked in for a little bit, and I just don't see a reason to go all in on this year when the NL is just loaded with talent. Still 7.5 out in the division. They're not even in a wild card right now. Oh my gosh, the Cleveland Guardians, what a confusing team. They had lost 11 in a row, 10 in a row at one point. They went in, they swept the Houston Astros, and now they're 6 and 4 in their last 10. They're still 3 games below 500. The AL is wide open, but man, 12 games out of their own division. They're behind a couple of teams in their own division. I just don't really see a way this team can contend for a playoff spot. It's time to move on from Class A for sure. I can see Steven Kwan going as well, but not much to say about this team. J-Ram's really good. Colorado Rockies just picked Ethan Holiday in the draft. That's probably the most exciting thing that's happened for them in a while because they have 22 wins, 96 games into the year. That's really bad. They are 22 and 74. That is absolutely horrendous. That's got to be on pace for the worst of all time. How about that? So there's not really much to say about this. Hopefully Ethan Holiday turns into your everyday shortstop because, man, Ezekiel Tovar has really not been that for a while. Detroit's got the best record in baseball despite being swept this weekend, actually, by the Seattle Mariners in shocking fashion. 59 and 38, as I said, still good for the best. We need a third baseman at the deadline. Let's see, maybe Eugenio Suarez would be the best fit for that one. But other than that, not too much to say about this team. Let's get a starting pitcher as well. And Colt Keith starting to really go for this team, which is really nice. They've got a couple of starters in the All-Star game, which is super cool. Skubal being one of them. The Houston Astros, 56-40 is the fourth best record in baseball right now. 4-6 in their last 10, so sliding a little bit. They were swept by the Guardians over this past week, playing the Rangers right now actually as well. Jake Myers, sneaky, having a really nice year for them as well. The pitching's always going to be there for them. Hader, Abreu are really nice in the back end of the bullpen, but it's a team that just won't go away. We got to move on. Excuse me, the Royals, 47-50. They don't really have a lot of offense, that's to say the least. 7-3 in their last 10. Still 12 games out of their own division, which is kind of crazy, but Jack Caglione had a couple of homers the other day at home, finally. Hopefully he can start getting something going for them. I think this is a team you've got to punt on your older starters who, like Lugo, you've got to trade him. I just don't see a way you can compete when you're behind the Twins right now. It's time to move on from Lugo and maybe some more guys. Let's move on. The Angels, after getting to 500, they've remained right around there. 47-48, which honestly for the AL is right in contention. 5-5 in their last 10. They were swept out last week. I'm trying to think of who that was, but Mike Trout, he's hitting homers for them once again, which is nice. Zach Neto having a nice year for them. They just had the second overall pick, and if I could finally remember who was taken with the second pick, I'll look it up in a few seconds. That's a pretty exciting thing that happened for them. So it's a team that's moving in the right direction. Prayers up for Ron Washington. Let's move on to the Dodgers. This is a team that's been struggling. 1.7 losses in a row. What's going on with the Dodgers? Let's talk about that in a little bit. 57-39 is still tied for second best in baseball. What is going on with them? And there's not really much they can do to fix it. We'll get into that in just a little bit. Not much more to say about that team for now. Let's move on to the Marlins. Marlins have actually been playing pretty nice baseball for a while now. 44-51 is good for third in the National League East. Better than the Braves, better than the Nationals. Kyle Stowers today hit 3 home runs in his revenge game against the Orioles, a guy who I personally said would not be that important to the Orioles core. Well, he just showed them. He's having a really nice year for this Marlins team. You either got to capitalize on that now, or he's got to be the guy you build around. Choose one of them. The Brewers have been hot too. They have won 6 in a row. Back-to-back sweeps this week, 8-2 in their last 10. They're only a game out of their own division. Rhys Hoskins to the IL kind of hurts them. He had been producing at a nice level for them. Jacob Mizorowski, much to my chagrin, goes to the All-Star game. The Brewers are just playing really nice baseball right now. Not much more to say about that. The Twins, they actually just had a nice series themselves against the Cubs. 2 games below 500, but 11.5 out of the division, 6-4 in their last 10. The AL starting to grab some separation. I think that there are 3 definite teams who are looking at playoff spots right now. Twins probably just aren't one of them. I mean, they could definitely flip the script, but I think it's time to move on from Buxton. He was one of the guys I had in my trade video that came out on Saturday. Make sure you check that out. Let's move on from him, and let's move on from the Twins. To the Mets, them and the Phillies are kind of in lockstep here in the NL East, tied right now. I don't believe the Phillies game has gone final yet. Just did, 2-1. They end up winning. But the Mets are 55-42. It's a team that needs a third baseman at the deadline relatively badly. 2 starting pitchers as well. Mark Vientos has really been struggling for them. Hopefully, for their sake, he can get it going. Let's move on. The Yankees. This weekend, they played the Cubs. I believe took 2 out of 3. They're 2 games out of their own division now. 53-43. Not too shabby of a record. Just 5-5 in their last 10. Belly hit technically 4 homers the other day. 1 gets robbed, so it's only good for 3. Aaron Judge still playing at an MVP level. Max Fried was offered the start in the American League for the All-Star game. Gave it to Skubal. How about that? It's a nice story. Anthony Volpe has been really bad. I don't really know what else to say, but we may need a new shortstop in New York next. The Philadelphia Phillies, my team, they just lost 2 out of 3 twice this week on their West Coast swing. 54-41 is where they sit right now, tied for the lead in the National League East. Trey Turner goes cold this week, and that's kind of what has hurt them a lot. Bryce Harper got hot this week, though, a little bit. He started hitting the ball really hard. That violent swing is back, getting on base as well. That would be huge for them down the stretch if they can find the old Bryce Harper. Their starting pitching is so ridiculous, too. It doesn't even make sense. Grab a couple of arms at the deadline in the bullpen. Moving on to the Pirates, 39-58. They 18.5 out of the division. They're bad. Outside of Skeens, they're bad. There's not much more to say. I don't even need 30 seconds for them. The A's, this is a team I really like just because their lineup is so fun, but they're still 16 games below 500 right now. 41-57. 16 out of the division as well. 5-5 in their last 10. A lot of young, really nice talent. Nick Kurtz is playing really, really well for them right now. He's found a stroke of power. Still strikes out a lot, but Brent Rooker hits 20 home runs. this past week as well. Just a team with a lot of nice lineup depth. We need some starters for next year. Maybe we can compete. Let's move on. The Padres kind of limped overall to the deadline, or to the All-Star break, I'd say, 52 and 43. They've just been kind of playing 500 ball since beginning of June, really. The starting pitching looks pretty nice. Their bullpen is silly good. All of those moves they made. And Morahone, I don't know his first name, but he's gross too. You got Robert Suarez as the closer. Yeah, their bullpen is really nice. Jackson Merrill finally gets going for them once again. What will that do for them in the second half? Not sure, but it's time to move on. The Giants, another team I got to watch play a little bit this week. They're 52 and 44, so just a half game back of the Padres. 5 games out of the division. They right now find themselves outside of the wild card race, and they have a really nice record. That just shows you how good the National League is right now. Matt Chapman playing really well for them right now. Willie Adames starting to turn it around. You'd like to see that. Logan Webb has just been striking people out, and he's all of a sudden a crazy elite pitcher. Love that, but it's time to move on. The Mariners just swept the Tigers, so that's pretty big news for them. 51 and 45, still 5 out of the division though, because the Astros have just been red hot. Mariners are 6 and 4 in their last 10. They just took Cade Anderson, which I just don't know how much sense that makes. Hopefully this means we're going to trade one of our 80 starting pitchers for a bat at the deadline, because it's been time to do that for years now. So hopefully they do that, especially because a college pitcher who's ready for the big leagues soon, and Cade Anderson just got drafted as well. Let's move on. St. Louis Cardinals, they are at 50 wins right now, 50 and 46, 7 out of the division. They've kind of come back down to earth a little bit. They're still just a solid baseball team. It's just the National League really is really loaded. I'll say it time and time again. So I just don't know how much they can really compete this year. Nolan Arenado hitting out of the 6th hole, doing just fine for them. Sonny Gray having a really nice year. The Tampa Bay Rays, they just find themselves in 3rd place in the division. 4th place in the division, because the Red Sox have been scalding hot. The Rays at 50 and 47, right outside of a playoff spot it looks to be right now. Let's see, Yankees, Red Sox, Mariners. Yes, they'd fall just outside of it for now. Yeah, just a solid team. I think Ozuna's a good fit for them at the deadline, especially if they want to trade away someone like Brandon Lowe, because I don't know why they would, but it just seems like something they'll do. But Ozuna, get him at the deadline. Let's move on. The Texas Rangers have been playing a little bit better recently. They're starting to hit, which is great. That starting pitching rotation is absolutely silly good. They're right back to about 500 at 48 and 49. Still got ways to go. They need to get hot right after the All-Star break to really convince themselves they can actually go all in on trying to make the playoffs this year once again. Otherwise, it's time to sell some pieces like Adolis Garcia and such like that. But yeah, a good sign in the right direction for this Rangers team. The Blue Jays still in 1st place in the American League East. Their winning streak got up to 11. They're 7 and 3 in their last 10, 55 and 41 overall, a 2-game lead on the Yankees. Vladdy, the captain of their ship. Ernie Clement having a really nice year, just one of the more valuable players in baseball right now, which is kind of silly to say, but a starting rotation that's got some depth. You like to see that. Their bullpen is playing pretty well. Eric Lauer out of their bullpen has been really good for them, and he's been starting a little bit too, but not much more to say. Finally, last but not least, the Washington Natitude, 38 and 58. They are really, really bad as of recently, and they took Eli Willits #1, so I just don't know how much sense that pick makes. I'm just going to talk about their draft now because there's not much else to say, but if I were them, Cade Anderson was a no-brainer in my eyes. They need pitching. They need a guy who can come up and pitch for them soon. High school position player just didn't make any sense. That's why Ethan Holiday didn't make sense. He went out and got Willits. I just don't understand the pick. I know baseball draft picks don't matter as much, but to me they do. And that is what happened this past week in 30 seconds for each MLB team.